Okay, this is a review of the DJI Ronin as looked at by me very briefly over the period of about an hour and a half at most. Anyway, this is the Sony A7s with a comm light adapter, which you can see there, with the Sigma 18-35 f1.8 lens on it, and there's the DJI Ronin M. That's what this one is, and it's very nice, and I had it to play with for a little while. And as you can see, it balanced it very well. That was literally turn it on with the A7s pressed on there and pressed a button to turn it on, and it balanced it. Now, I probably should have adjusted it before I did anything else with the weights and went through the whole thing, but I didn't. Anyway, here's the Sony A7s with the 16-50mm, which I was experimenting with first of all. That's the kit lens on the Ronin, and this is my first little play with it. Now, that lens is very light, so I think there's a little judder when you see me taking steps occasionally, and I think that's because it's very light, and I didn't spend any time calibrating it. I literally just turned the Ronin on and started walking. I didn't go into any apps or anything like that. I just literally put the camera on the Ronin and switched it on, and it balanced, and away we went. So here I am walking around at night in my neighbourhood, my friend, and I'm following her with her torch. Of course, this is the Sony A7s, so it's very good in light, but this is a very rubbishy, cheap lens, so the low light isn't great because it's like a f3.5 or something, and I was just going on auto. I've not corrected this. There's me in a very unflattering t-shirt and doing the usual, look, it's a stabilizer and it can keep itself steady. Well, pretty much. So there's this. It's pretty great at doing that. It does a fantastic job compared to using a gimbal, which you will see me using later on. Whereas, you know, a hand stabilizer or a gimbal requires you to practice and practice to get it right, and there is that kind of floating, wibbly wobbly sort of aspect that you can get with those sort of things. Here's the Sony A7s with the Sigma 18-35 f1.8, which is a beast of a lens, and it's so much of a beast of a lens, and I've got it far too high up ISO, so I had to lower that now. And it all seemed fine, and this is just after I'd done the initial setup with it, which you saw at the start of the clip. And here I am walking around, and coming up is a point where the Ronin itself just gives up the ghost on supporting it, and it does this little which you'll see in a second now. And yes, that's a possibility with these sort of things, especially when you don't spend time calibrating it. You don't line up the lens perfectly. You know, I just whacked it on and hoped that the Ronin would cope with it, and there we go. It decides to say, no, I'm not doing this, it's too much work for me, and the motors were getting quite warm at that point. This is the Sony A7s in comparison on a newer stabilizer, however you pronounce it, from Amazon. It was about 100 quid. Very heavy because of the amount of weight that I had put on to counterbalance the A7s and the Sigma lens. And we've got it walking around here, and it's okay, you know, like when you practice, and I'm not very practiced, you can get some really good results. And this is a lot smoother than I would get if I was using that lens and walking around, unless I did that kind of, you know, ninja walk thing, and sometimes that's just not practical. As you can see with this kind of gimbal, you can get fair results. It's not perfect, not at all, but it is cheap. Here we are with the Panasonic GF2 and the 20mm f1.7 slapped onto the newer stabilizer, and it's very light. It's quite tricky to get it bang on with one of these stabilizers, but it does a fair job, you know. It's certainly better than I would get if I was just walking around. Now again with the Panasonic GF2, which is on full auto, yes, I know, and full autofocus, and so it's having a merry old time focusing on different things. But it basically shows that on the knee wire stabilizer. It's okay, it's not great though, you know, and this isn't just a knee wire one, it is actually a very nice stabilizer, but it's not a brilliant, perfect, faultless stabilizer. Well, nothing is, but the Ronin is a lot easier to use. This is the Panasonic GF2 and 20mm 1.7 on the DJI Ronin. This was about the first time I literally turned it on, because it was the camera to hand, and I thought, let's try it. Now you can see some juddering when I move, and I think that's basically because the Ronin itself needs some weight on there, and that was just a really small camera with a really tiny lens, and there's no weight. And by the way, this is all on auto again, so don't blame me, or blame me, but accept that I left everything on auto just for the ease of use. This was more of a test of the Ronin rather than the cameras. I'm not looking at the image grading or anything like that. That's not what I'm looking at. I was just looking at how easy it was to work with it. And to be honest with you, the GF2 was too light, I think, and that's why there's this little bobbling around. I hope this has been of some use to all of you who've already been searching YouTube for lots of Ronin videos, or Vimeo. Don't forget Vimeo. Hopefully it's been a lot of use to you if you've wanted to see how somebody who just picked this up and went with it got on, and come back in a few months and I'll have had more tries with the Ronin and see if I can really perfect it, because I believe it is something that needs time, and you need the apps and you need the little extras to make the very best of it. Is it worth £1,300, which is what it currently is in the UK? Yes, it is. Anyway, thanks and see you later.